All right, everybody, let's kind of come back in, and I'm going to share one more evangelism strategy with you that a lot of us have probably already heard. I think we need to just get these bags up here. If we get these bags up here filled and stapled, that'll be 600. And then if we have extra candy, then we'll start to throw them in this last bag of 100 that'll put us a little over 100. Do not eat the candy. No, you can, if you have a piece, it'll be okay. Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Okay, so here is the last evangelism strategy that we want to give you guys and equip you with. We have talked about the 5-finger gospel. That's great for if you have 5 minutes. The Roman road is great if you have 5 minutes. But sometimes we feel tension, if we're honest, with trying to share the gospel with like our friends, our loved ones, our coworkers. I think there's sometimes a tension that it can come off as pushy, and that's uncomfortable with the people that we have really close, proximate, long-term relationships with, because we don't want them to get turned away. We don't want them to feel like, oh, you're forcing this thing on me. Has anyone ever felt that before when they've tried to share the gospel with people they know? So let's say you don't have 5 minutes. Let's say you have 5 years, potentially, with someone that you know and love, right? Your family members, your neighbors, your coworkers, your friends, the people that you always see maybe at the coffee shop you go to, the people that you're in a club with or you play soccer with like me on a Saturday morning. This is going to be the strategy for you. It's probably the one that I've used most often in my life. It's called the B.L.E.S.S rhythms. Who's heard of the B.L.E.S.S rhythms before? We spent a whole summer on the B.L.E.S.S rhythms before we planted as a church. So we just want to give you guys a quick refresher on what the B.L.E.S.S rhythms are. It's an acronym that the first letter, the B, stands for begin in prayer. I want to say begin in prayer. One thing that I marvel at so much, and I've marveled a lot more at it recently, is how reliant Jesus was on things other than himself, right? He's a member of the Godhead, but he says he relies and follows where the Spirit leads. He says he only does what he sees the Father doing. So the first step, the most important step, is for us to begin in prayer. Troy McMahon, who is the lead pastor of Restore Community Church, a father figure to Joe and myself, says prayer is the work. Everyone say prayer is the work. Prayer is the most important thing that we are going to do as a church. Another coach, a friend of ours, at one point told us, 2 things will make a church die: a lack of prayer and a lack of outreach. How cool that we're going to do both of those, right? So begin in prayer. Go to the Lord and ask, who in my life is starting to maybe be ready to hear the gospel, and that he's going to be faithful to direct them to you. God has been working in your family's life. God has been working in your friend's life. God has been working in your co-worker's life. It may not seem like God has been working, but he has been working. How many of us, if we looked back on our lives, we would think and wonder, where is God? Why is this happening? I can't, God is so distant from me. But now as Christians, we can look back and see all that God was doing and how he was working in our life. It's the same for your friends. It's the same for your family and all the people that live around you. So begin in prayer. Let's say God directs you to someone named Danny. The first thing you're going to do with Danny is you're going to listen. That's the L in the B.L.E.S.S rhythms. You're going to listen. Sit down with them. Be curious about their story. Be curious about where what they've gone through. Be curious about what they're going through. Just give them room to listen. One of my favorite stories in the scripture is when Jesus encounters the woman who had the issue of bleeding. That there was this woman who bled for 12 years, and one of the gospel accounts says that she reaches out, she touches Jesus. Jesus stops what he's doing. He stops helping this very important, influential person. He stops in the middle of this massive crowd. He says, "Who touched me?" The woman comes and presents herself, and then he says, "I want you to tell your whole story right now." that Jesus has a heart to listen, even when he already knows. So we begin in prayer, and then we listen, okay? That's B in the L. The next is eat. Who loves to eat in this room? Come on, me too. In Jesus's culture, who you ate with was a serious statement. It was a serious statement about who they were. It was a serious statement about who you were. It was one of the most intimate things that you could do with someone. Eating for us in our culture, while maybe not to that high of a regard, is still very important. We don't eat with people that we don't like a lot of the time. When's the last time you ate a meal with someone you despised? When's the last time you called up the person who bullied you in high school and said, "Hey, can we sit down and have a meal?" Probably never, okay? We only typically eat with people that we really like. But Jesus, he would eat with people who were sinners, right? He was a friend of sinners. That was one of the more radical things about his ministry, is who he decided to eat with. So you can eat with people, but maybe that looks like something else for you. Maybe it looks like going on a walk. Maybe it looks like going to a coffee shop. Maybe it looks like going and having a board game night. Spending just real intimate time with that person. Okay, so what was the first step? What was the L? What's the E? Okay, here's where I think the turning point happens. The first S in the blessed rhythms is the word serve. Everyone say serve. It's when you start to serve people that they start to look at you a little funny. They start to look at you and think, "Why are you doing this? What do you want from me? Would you please stop doing this?" Okay? You get to a point where you serve people in a radical way, or even in a small way, and they start to realize that there's something really, truly different about you. And they get curious. And they ask you eventually, maybe just because they're weirded out, "Why are you doing this?" And then you get to have the last S. You get to share the story. You get to share something like the five-finger gospel, maybe in a more prolonged term. You get to share your testimony. You get to share the Roman road. Because you've walked through the blessed rhythms with them, you love them over a very long period of time in a very sacrificial and intentional way. They can't help but to want to hear the story a lot of the times. Does that make sense? So it's a way that takes the pressure off of one moment because you've decided to love them over a very, very, very long period of time. That's the blessed rhythms. It's one of the most natural and easy ways I've found to share the gospel with the people around me.